Craig, hi. We're so happy that we have you on our Perivolas blog, and we are grateful that you've made this time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
There's so many things I'd like to talk to you. I mean, I'm sure people would have a number of questions or a number of subjects that they would sort of fire away and start talking to you about once they've seen your TED talk. Because you present things there in a unique way, and I think this is a unique bookstore on Santorini. I mean, what makes it unique? What makes it unique?
Well, first, the easy answer is that we're the only one on the island. Mm-hmm. So, by definition, we're the only shop that's in it for the business of books. Mm-hmm. And it's irreplicable because we built it by hand. The shop itself is built from driftwood and wood that we salvaged from the trash cans around here, and hammered together one shelf at a time, sort of ad-libbed it, and continued to do that to this day. So I think that just the look of it and feel of it is native to the island. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the people also make it different. The whole dynamic is different than most bookshops because we're not a city bookshop. We don't have the same customers coming in and the same things happening every day. It's a constant stream of new faces, both behind the counter and coming through the shop to take a look at our wares. So that dynamic of what can be fleeting moments or capricious moments, serendipitous interactions in a place that's very far away from everything for people, but at the same time, I think that bookshops offer people a little bit of home. Gives it a pretty, unique might be a strong word, but gives it a personality.
Mm-hmm. So certainly, no bookshop is an island, in a sense.
Exactly. Well put.
You were initially in a different location, and now you've recently relocated. I mean, has that thing had an impact on the Atlantis bookshop brand?
Yeah, well, we relocated after the first year, so most of the time we've been here. The first year we came, we really had no idea what we were up to. Mm-hmm. And we found a spectacular location just beneath the castle at the edge of town. Mm-hmm. And yeah, as our friends called it, it was a hallucination of a spot. It was absolutely magnificent. At the end of that year, because of the building we were kicked out because the building was being renovated into presidential suites. So we moved into the center of town, which has a larger store space, and we feel like a little bit more integrated into the community again, rather, being on the main street in the center rather than sort of on the periphery. So it's hard to say how much the location has changed the personality of the bookshop, and just the fact that we've sort of learned by making a million mistakes in the past 9 years, and so it's made us we're still amateurs, but we're professional amateurs, at least at this point. So I think that the vibe has one now that's really more serious about the actual craft of bookselling, finding the best stuff to put on the shelves, the most interesting things, curating a real selection that we're proud of, and that we think is not bad for an island in the south of the Aegean.
Mm-hmm. Why Santorini, and why books? And where would you say the Santorini begins and books start, or books begin and Santorini sort of starts?
Well, it's a good place to read a book, to answer it briefly. Mm-hmm. And there was no bookstore here, and I just happened to be here by coincidence 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Visiting. I was in Athens at the port of Piraeus, and there was the first boat that was heading off. It happened to be going to Santorini, so my friend and I said, okay, we'll go on that one. And when we got here, it was a great spot to read a book, so much so that we finished all of our books, ran out of books. And so we, started drinking to pass the time instead of reading, and decided we should build a bookstore so that nobody else has the same problem. And it's the only thing that I could imagine selling myself anyhow. Yeah, and I couldn't think of a better place to do it.
What's the strangest thing a customer has requested from you?
The strangest thing? I mean, they've requested some pretty strange books in the day. Books about hydraulic engineering in China, which I didn't have.
You didn't?
But people come. The strange things are often the simplest questions. You'd be amazed at how many people come in and ask if the books are for sale. They'd be amazed at how many people come in and ask if I'll take a picture with their spouse.
Okay. You're quite enlightened person. I mean, it's very natural request.
Yeah, but I don't know. But then a lot of that superficial interaction, that sort of first impression interaction, becomes the same so often. It's amazing. I mean, and you can't hold it against any individual person because it's the first time for them coming here. But like, what's the one question that gets asked more than any other? You have to put all your money on one question.
Okay, I have to say this is not the agreement we had in the beginning, and I was meant to be asking the questions, but is it perhaps?
Sorry, side.
It's fine. This is an interactive medium. I would say, and I hate to say that, would the question be, oh, do you have the 50 Shades of Grey?
Actually, we have a sign on the wall that tells them that we don't. So
yes.
They don't, to avoid, I'm going to give you bonus points for that one because that's such a good question that we've obstructed them from even asking that.
Okay, that's good.
I actually have a sign over there. So
it'd be great to see later on. But no. I mean, I give up. What is the question?
Yeah. The question, it's your answer. The question that's the most is how long have you been here? I get every time in the first one, and I think of all the questions. I'm just surprised that one gives the. But I think in some ways it's because the place is dusty enough that it could be.
I don't think that
it could be 55 years old.
I don't think that's the reason. I don't. Okay. Now, do you think that the experience you've simulated an experience of opening a book and finding out the world that the writer has saved for the reader by creating the space that you've created for your visitors?
I think that's a good metaphor, yeah.
Okay. And what is that thing that you wouldn't... What are the things, the experience, what makes up the experience of Atlantis books?
I would say, well, first of all, most people don't expect us. We're out of place around here. So I think it's a pleasant surprise for people. Both the sort of cruise boat types who stumble in even for 5 minutes, who are used to for whom most of their holiday is pretty regimented, and they're paying the big bucks so that they have very little to be surprised about. They know what they're getting. And so, but just for anybody that's going around, it can be a nice spot to see a space that's designed a little bit differently than most of the stuff around here, and to find the literature that you don't generally expect to have in a place like this. Then once they get in here, I mean, the good thing is that everything from the phrases that are penciled on the walls to small little designs and signs and things like that, we're always adding things and changing things, and so there's enough visual material to take in just by, browsing becomes something that's more than just browsing on the shelves for titles. It's actually looking at the inaccuracies or distortions in the wood and the clever little notes of encouragement that past staffers have left on the walls and hidden places for customers with patience to actually look into nooks and crannies. And and sometimes we drink in the evenings,
Mm-hmm.
and so then it can become a little bit more rambunctious and unpredictable.
I guess a visitor is invited.
Yeah. Don't tell the food and health agencies, but sometimes I'll pass out shots of raki if I'm feeling generous.
It stays between us.
Okay. So many of the people in our lives are people that are just passing through. We rely on interacting with them to get our social quota.
Mm.
I mean, I think people were surprised at first that we were here, that we were interested to brave it through the off season, but some of us are introverted, antisocial misfits that don't mind the beautiful peace and quiet and space of the off season, and
must be part of it. Must be part of the territory if you are to read some books.
Exactly, and it's great in the winter. We love it, having this space and shelter from the wind out there. I would. The off season is, even early spring and late autumn into the early winter. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's a pity that we don't take more. Hey, all good.
How could people get access to what you offer without visiting the island, for instance?
Without visiting the island? Well, the first thing, the easiest way, if you want to help us out and get a taste of what we're doing here, is we started this press that we made. We started just hand-making books, sewing up books in the back room of the shop.
Paravian Press?
Because Paravian Press, it's called. We were getting frustrated because with the new era of luggage restrictions, a lot of people were coming in and saying that they loved to buy something, but they didn't want to fit in their suitcase. And so I said, okay, we'll make books that you don't have to put in your suitcase. So we made these books and we tailored them. Here, I'll show you one.
Yeah, please.
Really simple little postcard-sized things.
Mm-hmm.
And they come with a space to write a little note on the first page there for your correspondence. Mm-hmm. This one is one we actually made especially for the bookshop on the Atlantis dialogues, Plato's dialogues that include the stories of Atlantis.
Wow.
And then it comes with a little envelope, so it goes in the mail.
I definitely want one of that.
Nicer than a postcard. And so, we started selling them in the shop, and then other friends who have other shops around the continent found out about it, and we started selling copies to them, and now we're selling them in a slew of bookshops around Europe and the States and Canada, and we sell them online. So anybody that wants a little taste of handmade literature from an island in the south of Greece can go on and help us out that way, no doubt.
Do local businesses contribute to the concept? Join you in this kind of little revolutionary way of spreading words? Sure.
I mean, we've done events we've done events in town and here at the shop. We had a literary festival a couple of autumns ago, and we're going to have one again in the end of June this year, where we brought in Greek authors and European authors to come and read, and chefs have cooked on the terrace, and photographers displaying their slides, and musicians coming in, and we're going to do the same thing again this year, the last weekend in June.
Wow.
For example, and we've done events with the primary school, and the folks around town are always happy to help out with that. The restaurants, when we've done Tzatziki Festival, because we celebrate tzatziki, they all contribute their pot of tzatziki for the tasting competition. And largely word of mouth as well, because we're just this little shop that's kind of underground, and it's really by the good vibes and word of mouth of the folks that live in town that tell, whether it's their residents at the hotel, they tell them, or they're in the restaurants, the fact that people talk us up and push people to come down our steps and explore here really does make a huge difference. We wouldn't be around without the locals. No chance.
That's very encouraging to know. Where would you like to see? Because I think now the Atlantis books is in puberty. Is that right, or still childhood?
I hope so. I mean, I would thought we were we were already down to terminal illness, but maybe
I can't believe that.
Maybe you're right.
What would the ideal coming of age of Atlantis books would be?
Well, I think. What's that? Sorry? Yes, you can. Yes, go have a look. Absolutely.
Oh, tell them to come and say hi.
The second stage, one of them. This lady is at the window saying she wants to go up on our terrace and see the view, which is one of the things we'd like to be able. We have this terrace space above us, and we're keen to. We're really fighting the elements out there, but we're keen to make that into something that would be a more developed. Sorry, that's my computer. That's a more developed space, not only for exhibitions and readings and such, but even to put some more shelves with some more interesting stuff on it. So yeah, to see the terrace fill out the shop a little bit better would be one thing that we're always saving and scrounging and working towards. And then I think what we'd like to do is, to have the security where we can expand a little in a few venues. We'd like to do more hosting artists here, bringing people in. I mean, the island itself is a great excuse for anybody that has the time and wants to work and have a good contemplative space. We have that. We just need the means to be able to support people like that. Because I think it's good not only for the shop to have something like that, but it'll ripple out to the whole island when we have more organized, a more organized acting, creating, artistic presence around here. We'd like to expand the press further. It's growing bit by bit, and the more time that we have to work on that, the more that it helps out the bookshop, and the bookshop helps out the press, and all together. And then it's always just a search to find new, interesting stuff to put on the shelves. It's we're catering to different audiences all the time. We've expanded into antiquarian books and books that are more of like objet d'art, like art objects, than merely the things that you read, but the things that you can have as keepsakes.
What is the thing that you would advise a visitor to do or not dare leave without from Santorini?
Once you're here, you've done 90% of the work. I think it's just getting here, and I think that if I were to recommend anything to anyone, it would be to just slow down and take your time. And don't feel compelled to run around seeing every corner of it, because the whole point of coming, or the essence of coming here, is to be able to just stop, find yourself a view, and take your time with it. There are beautiful, there's no doubt that there are great wineries around, and restaurants, and vistas, and taking a trip down to the lighthouse or some of the smaller beaches is not to be missed, but it's all about the way in which it's done. It's all about your style as you're doing it. And I think the best thing that people can be advised is, if they're coming here, that it's best sipped slowly.
This is brilliant. Craig, thank you so much for letting us into your Atlantis, and we can't wait to visit it ourselves. And I'm sure many of our guests would beg to discover more of it.
You come to Atlantis Books, I make you special price.
That's brilliant. And we'll close with that thought. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk very, very soon.
All right, thanks, Manas.